Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's daily devotion. Today's devotion will be taken from Exodus chapter 22, verse 20, and it reads as follows. Whoever sacrifices to any god other than the Lord alone shall be devoted to destruction. Whoever sacrifices to any god. Now, depending on what time period you're in, when it comes to the Bible, they're talking about an animal sacrifice to a god or a thing. In our times, that sacrifice and also that god can be seen in a different sense. Our gods now aren't exactly things that we build statues of, but if anything, our gods now are the things that occupy our time, the things that occupy our attention. And when we talk about sacrifice, in our terms, the thing we sacrifice the most is time. What we sacrifice with God is our time, our effort, and our love, and our real desire to spend that time with Him. Then it says, devoted to destruction. Now again, it all depends on what version of the Bible you're reading. But in this version, I really like the words devoted to destruction. It doesn't say condemned to hell, but it's really clear that it says devoted to destruction. So what does that look like, being devoted to destruction? I think we've all had a period in our lives when we've been away from God, where either we've chosen to be distant from God or life has just led us away from God. And I think in those moments and in those periods, we can really see what that destruction is. That destruction derives from the way that we let the desires of our flesh dictate our lives. So yes, we might not have our lives ultimately destroyed, but it's in those little habits that we choose when we follow our flesh, that when we look back, we see the years of our lives that we've wasted. When we're away from God for a period of time, we tend to follow the desires of our flesh more. It's human nature. Now, when we don't have God, we believe that all we have is ourselves, and all we have to do is serve ourselves. And in those moments, we really do feed into everything that our flesh desires. But if you look back at those times in our lives, how destructive were they? How many things were we doing that were unhealthy for our bodies and for our minds, and also for our spirits? How unhealthy were those things for the people around us? And ultimately, how unhealthy were those things for our relationship with God? You see, the destruction doesn't come sweeping like a raging fire at times, but instead it slowly creeps into the very fibers of our being, becomes who we are. And then only when we look back in hindsight do we see the trail of destruction that has been left behind. As yesterday was Ash Wednesday and the start of Lent, many times you'll hear the question, what are you giving up for Lent? But I ask the question, maybe not what are you giving up, but what are you adding to your life for Lent? What parts of God are you actively trying to incorporate in your life? You see, giving up sometimes means that the thing that you gave up will be replaced. I know when Lent used to come around, I would try to give up playing video games. But the problem was when I gave up the video games, what I do in the time that I used to spend playing video games would be almost as destructive. So I'd give up the video games, but in those 2 hours, I'd then be scrolling through social media. So inevitably, yes, I gave up video games, but I haven't added anything to my life that really positively affects me. And that's why I asked the question, what are you adding to your life? Because maybe it's in that addition that we let the things that we would have given up take a back seat. So let's say we add something, we add reading the Bible or praying with more intent before bed. If we schedule a time to read the Bible, that then automatically takes time away from the things we would have given up. If I schedule time before I go to bed to pray intently, that automatically takes time away from scrolling through my phone before I go to bed. So maybe it's about, what do we add for Lent? What are the things we can incorporate in our lives that not only just take the things away that we know are destructive, but that add more life to us, that add more love and more spirituality to our daily routine. You see, if we add more of God into our lives, it would mean that there's less space for the destructive things to occupy. There's less of our time for those things to consume. So again I say, may we only sacrifice to God, the one true God. Not the things that we make our little gods, but to the God that we know we worship. To the God that we know we love, that loves us. And may this Lent period not only be about the things we take away, but also about the things that we add to our lives. The ways in which we add God and incorporate God into our daily routines. May this be a spiritual time in your life. May this be a time when you really do connect to God. Where your mind is still, but your heart is full. Where your spirit always seeks out the Almighty Father in heaven. Amen.